My wife suddenly had girls' night out every Friday. A friend sent me photos of her on a dinner date with someone new. When I asked her, she said, "You're being ridiculous." Months later, she finally understood what ridiculous really meant. I, 38 male, have been married to my wife, Sarah, 36 female, for 12 years. We live in a quiet suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio. We have 2 kids, a dog, and what I thought was a pretty solid marriage. That is, until about a year ago. It started subtly. Sarah began going out every Friday night with her girlfriends. At first, I was supportive. She works hard as a nurse, and I figured she deserved some time to unwind. But as the weeks went by, I noticed changes. She started dressing up more than usual for these outings. She'd come home later and later, sometimes not until 2 or 3 a.m. She became secretive with her phone, always keeping it face down. Our intimacy dwindled to almost nothing. I tried to talk to her about it, but she brushed me off, saying I was being paranoid and that she just needed time with her friends. I wanted to believe her, so I let it go. One Friday night, while Sarah was out, I got a text from my friend Mike. He was at a local restaurant and saw Sarah having dinner with a man he didn't recognize. He snapped a photo and sent it to me. There she was, holding hands with this guy across the table. My heart sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I waited until she got home and confronted her. "I saw the photo, Sarah. You were with another man. What's going on?" She looked at me, completely unfazed, and said, "You're being ridiculous. Mike must be mistaken. It was just a friend from work. We were catching up." I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew something was off. Over the next few months, things got worse. Sarah became more distant. She'd pick fights over trivial things. She'd disappear for hours without explanation. I felt like I was living with a stranger. I started doing some digging. Checked phone records, credit card statements, even followed her one night. She wasn't going out with friends. She was meeting up with the same guy from the photo. They'd have dinner, then head to a hotel. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. I considered confronting her again, but I knew she'd just deny it. So, I decided to bide my time and gather more evidence. One day, while Sarah was at work, I stumbled upon her old laptop. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to check it out. What I found confirmed everything. Emails, messages, even photos of her with this guy. They'd been seeing each other for months. I printed everything out and put it in a folder. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I knew I needed to have it. A few weeks later, I decided it was time. I sat Sarah down and handed her the folder. "I know everything, Sarah. The dinners, the hotels, the messages. I have it all right here." She looked through the folder, her face turning pale. She didn't say a word. "I want a divorce," I said. That's when she finally broke down. She begged for forgiveness, said it was a mistake, that she still loved me. But it was too late. The damage was done. The divorce was finalized a few months later. We agreed on joint custody of the kids. I kept the house. She moved into an apartment downtown. It wasn't easy, but over time, I started to heal. I focused on my kids, my job, and rebuilding my life. I even started dating again. As for Sarah, I heard things didn't work out with her affair partner. She tried to reach out a few times, but I didn't respond. I had moved on. So, like I said, I filed for divorce. I handed her the folder full of proof, and she crumbled. For a few weeks, it was all tears and begging. She even tried to get the kids to talk to me about second chances. I didn't budge. But what happened next? That's where things went off the rails. About 2 weeks after I told her I wanted a divorce, I noticed she started getting nasty. The calm, regretful woman begging for forgiveness disappeared. Instead, I got hit with cold shoulder, nasty texts, and lawyer threats. She went from, "I still love you. Please let's talk," to, "You're a pathetic, bitter man. You'll die alone." I thought she was just lashing out. Hurt people, right? But then it got worse. She started showing up late for custody exchanges, making up excuses to keep the kids longer. When I tried to talk to her about it, she told me she was worried about my mental health and said I was acting unstable. Then out of nowhere, I got a visit from Child Protective Services. Yeah, she reported me. She told them I was emotionally unstable and that the kids were scared of me. Luckily, I had nothing to hide. The CPS worker did a visit, talked to the kids, who were old enough to speak clearly, and found nothing wrong. But still, that shook me. She was trying to ruin me, not just emotionally, but legally. I asked her why she'd do that. Her reply? Now you know how it feels to be lied to. Here's the crazy part. Mike, my friend who first sent me the photo, ran into the guy again. Not at a restaurant, but at a local gym. He struck up small talk and figured out something shocking. The guy wasn't just some random dude. He was married too. Mike didn't get the full story, but from what he could tell, Sarah was the side piece, not the main relationship. This guy had been lying to his own wife, just like she'd lied to me. It was some kind of sad triangle of betrayal. So while Sarah was blowing up our family for this guy, she didn't even know he was stringing her along the whole time. I didn't tell her at first. I didn't want to give her any reason to turn her rage toward me again. But I kept that detail in my back pocket. It felt like some small justice, even if I never said a word. Then, a month after our divorce paperwork started moving forward, Sarah got fired. She worked at a hospital as a nurse, and she always had a good record. But apparently, her personal life started affecting her job. She was showing up late, distracted, and snapping at coworkers. She got written up more than once, and eventually they let her go. I didn't gloat. I didn't even say anything. But deep down, yeah, part of me felt like the universe was finally hitting back. The woman who called me ridiculous now had no marriage, no steady job, and no affair partner she could trust. Still, I wasn't done. I had one more move to make. I know how this sounds. Why the hell would I invite her to dinner? I had a reason. One night, I sent her a message. Let's have dinner. Just you and me. One last conversation. She said yes. We met at a small restaurant downtown. Not the fancy one she used to sneak off to, but somewhere quiet and simple. I didn't bring up the past. I didn't yell. I didn't ask for anything. Instead, I waited until dessert. Then I pulled out a photo. It was the gym picture Mike took, the one of her boyfriend, holding hands with a woman I assumed was his real wife. I slid it across the table. I thought you might want to see this. She stared at it for a long time. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. If you read the last part, you know I met Sarah for dinner and showed her a photo of her boyfriend with another woman who, turns out, was his real wife. She stared at it for what felt like forever. Then she whispered, I already knew. That knocked the air out of me. I just stared at her. She said she knew the guy was married. She didn't care. But it wasn't just about cheating anymore. She said she was in love with him and thought he'd leave his wife. Turns out, she'd been giving him money, lots of it. She had taken out a personal loan for renovations. I assumed she meant home upgrades or something for the kids. Nope. She gave it to him. $10,000. To help him get out of his marriage. And now he'd ghosted her. So now she was broke, jobless, and humiliated. I didn't feel pity. Just disbelief. And a little sick. A week after that dinner, she showed up at my door. No call. No warning. Just her, standing on the porch with a bag in her hand, like she was coming home from a long trip. She said, I have nowhere else to go. I said, that's not my problem anymore. She started crying. I told her she could sleep on the couch for the night if she really had no place, but this wasn't a reconciliation. Not even close. I could hear my kids upstairs. They didn't even know she was there. I told her to be gone by morning. And she was. About 2 weeks later, I got a DM on Facebook from a woman named Trisha. The message said, you don't know me, but I think our lives have been wrecked by the same man. Turns out, she was the wife of the guy Sarah had been seeing. She'd found his burner phone and traced the number. From there, she found Sarah's name. Looked her up. Found our old couple photos. Found me. We talked on the phone for nearly an hour. Trisha told me everything. The guy had a pattern of doing this to multiple women. He'd cheated before. He never had plans to leave her. He'd lied to Sarah constantly. She said she wasn't surprised he took Sarah's money. He'd done something similar to another woman 2 years back. She had already kicked him out. Before she hung up, she said, your wife wasn't his first. Just his most desperate. That stuck with me. This part came out of nowhere. I work in IT, and my company started growing fast. A director position opened up and I applied, even though I wasn't sure I had the energy. But I needed a win. I got the job. With it came more pay, more flexibility, and the ability to work remotely part-time. That meant more time with my kids. It felt like, for the first time in months, things were shifting in my favor. But nothing stays calm for long. 3 weeks after Sarah's surprise porch visit, I got a call from her number. I didn't answer. Then came a text. We need to talk. It's serious. She told me she might be pregnant. My brain nearly exploded. I hadn't touched her in over 6 months, so it wasn't mine. But the thought of her having a baby, with that guy, while still being tied to me through co-parenting and divorce proceedings. It made me sick. I didn't respond for 2 days. When I finally did, I told her, get a test. Call me when you're sure. Turns out, it was a false alarm. But even that moment, those 48 hours, was enough to make my blood pressure spike. Enough to make me question everything again. I'm trying to stay calm, stay focused, keep my life steady for my kids. But I feel like Sarah's chaos is always creeping up behind me, ready to throw another punch. She's living in her sister's basement now. She's trying to find work. She still texts, trying to guilt me about the family we lost. Meanwhile, her ex-affair partner, Trisha, said he's living in a motel. No job, no family, no more side pieces, as far as she knows. Karma doesn't always hit right away, but when it lands hard. And I've still got more to say, because something's been happening with one of Sarah's old friends. Someone who knows a little too much. Should I share that next? Her name was Melissa, one of Sarah's closest friends. She was part of the girls' night out group Sarah used to mention all the time. Melissa and I barely talked before, but one day she messaged me out of the blue. She said, I can't hold it in anymore. I didn't know everything, but I knew enough. And I need to tell you. She agreed to meet me at a local coffee shop. We sat outside. She looked uncomfortable from the start. She told me that girls' night out had been real in the beginning. Just some women blowing off steam, catching up, drinking wine. But then Sarah started going out alone. She'd lie and say the others canceled, and she'd go meet him. Melissa suspected it, but she didn't want to start drama. Said she warned Sarah once, told her to stop before she lost everything. Sarah's response, if he makes me feel alive again, I'll risk it. That broke me. I was angry at everything, but mostly angry at how deep the selfishness ran. So I did something I didn't plan. I asked Melissa to come with me to the next custody exchange. She was hesitant, but agreed. Sarah pulled up late as usual. I told the kids to go inside first. Then Melissa stepped out of my house and stood beside me on the porch. Sarah's eyes widened. Her whole body froze. She knew. I didn't say anything, just stood there. Then Melissa spoke. You said you were in control, that nobody would find out. You dragged your own kids through this. Sarah's voice cracked. Why are you doing this to me? I answered, because you've spent a year doing it to everyone else. She lost it, started yelling, crying, screaming that we were ganging up on her, that we didn't understand how empty she felt, how lonely she was, how I shut down emotionally after our second kid was born. All of it spilled out. All of her guilt twisted into blame. All her pain turned outward. Melissa shook her head and walked away. Sarah collapsed on my front step, sobbing into her hands. I didn't scream back. I didn't pity her either. I just sat on the porch a few feet away while she cried. Eventually, she pulled herself together and said, I didn't want to destroy our family. And I said, you didn't just destroy it. You walked away from it while it was still standing. She nodded, said nothing. Then she stood up and left. My kids noticed the tension, of course. My daughter, 11, asked if mommy was okay. I told her she was having a tough time, but that none of it was the kids' fault. I promised them I'd always be there. My brother said I was too soft for even letting her talk. Said I should have burned her to the ground in court. Maybe he's right, but I wasn't trying to win anymore. I was just trying to finish it. The divorce went through. Finalized. No appeals. She didn't fight for the house or push for more time with the kids. I think deep down she knew she needed time to get her life together. We do custody exchanges quietly now. No drama. No eye contact. She eventually found a new job, not at a hospital, but at a pharmacy. She's rebuilding. I'm not angry anymore. Just tired. Sometimes I look back and wonder how I didn't see the signs earlier. But love makes you blind. And trust makes you stupid. I lost a lot this past year. My marriage. My peace. My sense of reality. But I also found things. Found who my real friends are. Found strength I didn't know I had. Found clarity about the kind of man and father I want to be. I'm not dating yet. Not looking. Just working. Being a dad. Sleeping better. Breathing easier. If she ever truly apologizes, maybe I'll forgive her one day. Not for her, but for me. But I'll never forget. And I'll never believe another girl's night out without asking a few questions first.